Hey guys, J0, how you doing? I hope all is well in YouTube land. Whatever part of the world that you are in. Let's talk about the old home place for a minute. A lot of the comments on the first video that came out, I don't know, they're not good, I don't think. Everybody wants to know why this gentleman is taking it down. First of all, let me tell you about a little bit about the gentleman that owns this property. He owns a lot of property throughout the creek here. That hay fields, and his family owns a lot of the fields and some of the houses and stuff up and down the creek where the rest of his family lives. This family has been on this creek for generations. They've lived right here on this creek, and the gentleman who owns that house has lived in that house himself. So if anybody is aware of the sadness and the history in that house, it is him. It is not something that he decided to do lightly, not just willy-nilly, oh, I'm tired of that house, let's take it down. No. It was with an extremely heavy heart and tears in his eyes that he decided to take it down. Hi, Mr. Copley. And it's not a decision that he made by himself, alone. He talked with several other of the elders up and down the creek because they're childhood friends. They've been friends and neighbors their entire life, and everybody that he knows, he talked to about it. He's had several different contractors and carpenter dudes and stuff come out and look at the place. In order to make it livable again, it's been sitting for a couple of years empty now because he didn't know what he wanted to do with it. So it's falling apart. Okay, it would have to be completely rebuilt from the foundation up, including the foundation, which is crumbling. It's organic. The house is organic. It's made from wood, and it is not going to last forever. And it is really sad that because it's a huge piece of our history. And I've only been out here on the creek for 14 years, and I'm sad to see it go. Imagine how the old timers who have been here for 90 years feel about seeing some of their history go. But there comes a point in everything, with every barn, with every house, with every building, there comes a point in that building's lifespan to where it is no longer viable, and it becomes a liability. And we'll show you some things on the house when we get down there and get a little bit more into it. And I'll show you some things here in a minute on the house. But it has run its course, and it is time for it to retire, so to speak. It's time for it to come down because it is becoming a liability. It's starting to the worst corner of the foundation is just literally crumbling away more and more every day, and the house is starting to lean and tilt. A lot of the you can see there's a big sag now in the roof ridge to where it's literally crumbling in on itself. And he's not going to just let it sit there and rot away because there's some useful material in there. There's not going to be a whole lot of useful stuff. We will salvage anything and everything that we can salvage from the old home place and use. We will. We're trying to do this as respectfully as we can to this old home place, out of respect of our heritage, of our history here on the creek. And there's going to be a lot of stuff in there that is not going to be salvageable. It's probably going to be burnt. Some of the old rotten stuff, like the additions, the two additions, the wraparound addition part. We reckon it was sometime in the 30s that they put that on, and that material is a lot different than the material that they used to build the original part of the house, and it's probably not going to be reusable. We'll see once we get the siding and stuff off. But this thing's had many roof leaks. It's had many, it's been through many storms and all this kind of stuff. It's been there a long time. It's been through a lot. So please don't think for one second that this is something that was taken lightly and a decision that was made easily to bring this place down, and because it was not, absolutely was not. And somebody who wants to sit in town and pass judgment on the gentleman who owns this for bringing this house down, please don't. Because this is not your heritage and your history. This is his heritage and his history. It's not even my heritage and history. I've only been on the creek 14 years. But I consider myself to be, creek folk. But this is some place that he's actually lived when he was a boy. They played in that yard. They raked the leaves up and all that kind of stuff. So it's not an easy decision that he made. But like I say, it's getting to the point now to where it is a liability, and he doesn't want to have the liability. And if he completely rebuilt it from the ground up, completely rebuilt the whole thing, then it wouldn't be the same house anyway. And he doesn't want a house sitting there because, I mean, he has rented it in the past, but he doesn't want to rent it anymore. It's one of them things that he doesn't want anybody living there because the place is in such bad shape. He doesn't want to take that responsibility on somebody, getting hurt or catching on fire or something like that. So, it's just one of them things. If anything organic, it has a lifespan, and this house it is time for the house to retire and come down. And like I say, anything and everything that we can salvage and use, either building here at my place or some guys up on the ridge that are coming down to help, they're going to be using and salvaging stuff. So we're going to do the best we can to respect it and to reuse what we can. But as far as it standing there, it's time. So, and it is sad. But, as far as, I forget what he said that one guy had an estimate on. It was like almost $40,000 to make the place to where it would be, nice and livable again. And he can't put that kind of money into it. So, and then even if he did, it would just still be sitting there not doing anything because he doesn't want anybody living there. So, and he doesn't want to rent the place out anymore because, as we all know, with the world the way that it is nowadays, renters don't respect the stuff anymore, and he doesn't want to take a chance on putting all that money into it and have somebody come in and damaging a bunch of stuff and leaving and all that kind of stuff. So, anywho, that's where we are. Let me get the camera and I'm going to show you a couple things. A lot of people are asking me why he's doing this. I've never asked him for an explanation. He doesn't have to explain himself to the likes of me, by the way. So I don't know. This is just stuff that I know. Okay, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it. I'll try to zoom in on the roof line. Can you see where it's starting to sag there in the middle? And I have my big giant zoomed in finger. It's starting to sag right there. That roof has been leaking for a while. We put new shingles. He's put new shingles on it and some new, roof decking and stuff, and it still is leaking because every time you put something on there, it sags a little bit more, and then it creates a crack in the split. This back side of the house, not this corner, but the corner back from it, the foundation is in very poor condition, and the house is now starting to sink in. As you can see, there's a gentle slope that runs that way, and that's the house. The house is starting to sink and lean that away. And it's not completely extremely dangerous right now, but it will be in the future. And when it gets to that point where it's extremely dangerous, there's going to be a lot less useful stuff in the house. So that's why he's decided to do it now. And that's why, we're helping it what we can. We're starting with the barns. And we got crappy weather. Everything's wet and muddy, and we're not going to do much on the barn today. We'll probably get back on that tomorrow. But I think the most part, there is going to be, we walked around the bottom of the house, and we'll show you guys when we get down in there, but most of this bottom stuff is just completely rotted away. There's been insects and groundhogs. Even though I've taken them out, they did some damage to the place before we got them out of there. And insects and rodents and critters and all kind of stuff that have gone in there and done some damage to the actual structure. So this whole wraparound part and most of the second story has been rotting from the top down from where the water damage and stuff is. Water is extremely damaging to a home if you have water damage, and it spreads pretty quickly. So if it's not completely rotten, then it's going to be covered in mold. And we'll try to do what we can with what we can. But a lot of this is just going to be pushed over, and we'll take the windows out, and we'll take the roofing off and stuff like that. Whatever we can salvage, we will. A lot of it's going to be pushed over with the front end loader, and I believe he's going to dig a big hole in the back part of that hayfield there. And the stuff that's not salvageable and not useful, we're going to push it out there and burn it. This part of the house here, the first story of the original part, is the part that is going to be the most interesting, because we're really hoping that a lot of those original timbers and stuff like that are in there and still useful and viable. Now, those old original chestnut timbers are extremely rare, and yes, we understand, and he understands that they are extremely valuable. He also understands that they are more valuable to dudes like me and some of the guys up on the ridge who will use them and continue using them for building material rather than to sell them to somebody who's going to salvage them and then reuse them in some big fancy building somewhere. That's not how we operate out here. He's not going to let somebody come out here and salvage those timbers to take them somewhere to resell them at a really high price or whatever, because they are pretty rare, but they are very good. That's very good material. And if I manage to get a hold of one of those, that will be the ridgepole for my new shed that I'm going to build out on the back side of my place, and that's going to be really cool. That's going to be my my part of the creek history right here on my place. It's going to still be here overlooking the hayfield like it has been for 150 years. So, but you can see there's you can see where the water damage, where the mold and stuff comes out of the wall below the windows there. Try to zoom in on it if I'm not too shaky, and you can see that the windows. You can see how the windows there, they kind of lean in and sag in, where you can see where they're sagging, and it's time for the place to come down. So there you have it. I hope that answers some of the questions that have been coming up on the first part of the video. And once we get down there and get a little more into it, then we will, I'll bring the camera with me. As long as he says that it's still okay to do so, we'll bring the camera with. But I will not ask him to explain himself to me, because he doesn't have to explain anything to the likes of me. This is just stuff that I know from living here and talking with him and some of the other elders up and down the creek. So there you have it, guys. We'll get into it a little bit more, and it would be great if we found some newspapers or a place on the foundation to where they scribbled in into the concrete what year they was doing what, but we won't know until we get into it, and we'll see. At the very least, we're going to get some good material, and we're going to be doing the best that we can with it. So there you go. I hope that helps. You guys have a great day. Thanks for watching. As soon as the weather breaks, we'll be back on it. God bless. The end. Buzz, buzz, the end.